Welcome to the channel. I hope you enjoy this video. We have a Jeep Wrangler JK 2013 here with the check engine light on and the following symptoms: slow start, lack of power when you press the gas, hesitation when you accelerate. So let's start troubleshooting this problem. Let's start troubleshooting by connecting the OBD2 scan tool that we use in conjunction with my torque application in my cell phone. So let's turn the car on, make sure the ECU and the OBD2 connector synchronized so we can scan trouble codes. As you can see, the check engine light is on and we got four major DTC codes shown here: 345, 349, 390 and 394. All of them coming from the same camshaft position sensor on bank number 2. This is the wiring diagram for the camshaft and crankshaft position sensor, and we can quickly see that for bank 1 and bank 2 both sensors share the ground and the 5 volts reference line all the way back to the computer. Only the signal lines are individual all the way back to the ECU. So the strategy that we're going to use to attack this problem is that we're going to use bank 1 sensor as a reference to measure and compare against the sensor on bank 2. We're going to disconnect both sensors and I'm going to measure voltage on the connector pins as follows. The next step will depend on the results of these measurements. If the voltages are good, then we're going to swap the sensors on bank 1 and bank 2 and see if the problem follows to the bank 1. If not, then we're going to measure the back side of the connector and then we're going to follow the cables all the way back to the ECU looking for those voltages. If not found all the way back to the ECU, then we have a potential bad ECU. Before we go to the car, let's take a look at the sensor and where to locate the pins on the sensor and the connector. Start troubleshooting right away. I'm going to start by turning the ignition switch to the on position so we can start measuring the voltage. On back number 1 and the test light, we're going to check for ground first. So right here we're seeing ground on pin number 3 and we got nothing on pin 1, 2 and 4 as expected because we should have 5 volts on those pins. So let's get a voltmeter, the ground terminal into the negative of the battery and the positive lead. We're gonna check those pins. As we can see, pin 1, 4 and pin number 2 have 5 volts, which means everything looks good on this. So now let's repeat the same process on bank number 2 after locating it in the driver's side. So we're gonna start again by checking the ground on pin number 3. We see successful ground on pin number 3 here. Let's go now for the voltage on the voltmeter. Okay, with the voltmeter on pin number 1 and number 4, we're seeing the 5 volts, which means it's good. But we are not finding the 5 volts on pin number 2, which is the voltage reference. Here's number 1, and here's number 4, and number 3 is ground. We should not see anything here, and number 2, we're expecting 5 volts on this one, and we're getting nothing. This is ground again. Pin number 1, 5, pin number 4, 5, and nothing on pin number 2, which means we have a problem on this cable or this connector. So let's go back to the drawing board, to the wiring diagram. In the wiring diagram, we measure on this side of the connector. We're expecting to see those voltages. And if everything checked out fine, that means that the ECU and the cabling and the connector were good, and there's possibility that the sensor was the suspect here. In our case, pin number 2 is missing the 5 volts, so we have to trace those voltages backwards on the other side of the connector all the way back to the computer. And then what we found was that we have the 5 volts on the back side of the connector for pin number 2. So it tells me that the connector is the problem here. Something is broken inside the connector, or the cable is not making good contact inside. So we inspected the cable in the back, and it determined that it was not broken. It was a little bit out. You know, if you compare it with the other ones, it was a little bit far out, so we push it back in, all the way in with the plier, and we put some contact cleaner in the connector and plug it back in. After all that, we measure again, and we found the 5 volts on pin number 2, so now we have a successful measurement. If your troubleshooting leads you to remove the sensor or replace the sensor, here's a list of steps that you can use to easily remove the sensor. Okay, right here we're gonna push it over 60 miles per hour. See how fast we can reach it. Here we go. It's 50. It's 60. 65. Let it cruise. Just let it roll down now. See the oxygen sensor, how it's doing. Looks good. Oxygen sensor looking good. No hesitation. When I push the gas, pedal, I didn't feel the hesitation that I was feeling before when the camshaft position sensor was failing. As soon as I pressed the gas and in the power, the Jeep pretty much hesitated
and lack of power, and no, you saw at the beginning of the video how many codes, mostly 4 of them, 340, 345, 390, 394, all belonging to the same problems on the same camshaft position sensor. I'm gonna stop here for gas. I'll see you soon. Run this one more time. No codes. It's clear. Yes, excellent.